The North Korean won, the official currency of the DPRK, Democratic People's Republic of Korea. But being illegal to take out of North Korea, few foreigners have ever seen it. Fewer still know anything about it, and even fewer have had the opportunity to actually use it. So, what does North Korean currency look like? How can you get it? And just how much is it worth? Let's take an in-depth look at the North Korean won to find out more. Hello everybody, welcome back and thanks for watching. So today we're going to talk about a pretty interesting topic, people's favorite topic, money, and more specifically, North Korean money. So the North Korean currency is Korean won, North Korean won, and I've got two notes here to show you. So this is not to be confused with the South Korean won, which looks a bit like this. It's also called won, but the two currencies are very different, and you definitely can't use this in this country or this in this country. So let's first look at the different denominations of the North Korean won, and then to give you an idea of how much they're worth, this is a 5,000 North Korean won note, and it's the highest denomination of the North Korean won. After we go through all of the different notes, I'll tell you what that translates to in US dollars. And I've got quite a lot of them here, so let's see how rich that makes me. The highest note is the 5,000 won, and this actually comes in two versions, which I'll speak about in a minute. Then it's the 2,000 won, the 1,000 won, the 500 won, 200 won, 100 won, 50, 10, 5, and even coins of 1 won in value. So the official rate for the North Korean won that you'll find on the internet is completely wrong, but that's the official rate. And in reality, this official rate is hardly ever used. What is actually used in North Korea is the market rate, sometimes referred to as the black market rate, but in reality it's more of a grey market, and for purposes of this video, let's just call it the market rate because in reality that is the rate that's used in North Korea. Since around 2012 until 2020, this market rate has stayed pretty stable at a massive 8,000 won to $1. The market rate for the North Korean won is the one that you need to pay attention to because that's pretty much the only one that's ever used, and that's 8,000 won to $1. I have a lot of these 5,000s, but unfortunately that doesn't make me very rich. And I say until 2020 that it stayed pretty stable because actually in 2020 it started to move for the first time. So as you can see, the rate has changed to more like 6,000 won to the US dollar. And interestingly on this graphic as well, I'll put the English names up on what's written in Korean because these are actually place names. And it shows that the won has different value in different areas of North Korea. Now this is a bizarre concept only before we start thinking about it. So in no other country does something like this happen. However, in North Korea, where currency and money is hard to transport around the country because there are few people traveling through different provinces around the country, it kind of makes sense that the money should then have different values in different areas. So before we have a closer look at the different pictures and images on the North Korean won notes, let's look into the history of the North Korean won. So the North Korean won came about in 1947, and at this time it was only initially there to be used by North Korean citizens. Actually, foreigners were not allowed to use it and were instead issued another different kind of paper to use in exchange for the currency. Now, foreigners can use it in very specific areas of North Korea. So you can use it if you go, the most popular place is the Kwanbok supermarket in Pyongyang, and there you exchange your money from RMB, US dollar, Japanese yen, or also euro, and you can exchange it into this currency, the North Korean currency. And then you can spend it in the Kwanbok supermarket. In fact, you need to spend it in the Kwanbok supermarket because you're not allowed to take it out of the country. This use of the paper money for foreigners was abolished in 2002, and from then, foreigners could also use the North Korean won. 2009, the North Korean won was revalued, and this caused massive issues for the people in North Korea. This was the first time that a revaluation had been taken place, and North Koreans were basically told that within 1 week, they had to exchange their money into the new currency that was coming into circulation. But they were only allowed to exchange 100,000 won. And remember, when we look back at the exchange rate, that's really not that many dollars. So all the North Koreans who had been building up piles of cash, hiding it under their mattress, whatever, that stockpile was pretty much obliterated. Eventually, after concerns within the country, this amount was then raised to 150,000 won in cash and a further 300,000 in bank savings. But this is still very little, and it meant that until this very day, people have kind of lost a lot of the faith that they may have had in the North Korean currency, and that's why foreign currency is valued very highly in North Korea. Then in 2014, the 5,000 won note got a new redesign. The one I have here is actually the new one. That's why it's nice and crisp and clean. But the old one used to have an image of Kim Il-sung on it. As of today, as far as I still know, both of these notes are still in circulation. I just don't have one of the old notes on me right now. Now let's take a look into each of the notes and see what North Korean currency looks like, what each of the symbols and pictures on each of the notes means. Usually on each of the banknotes, the images are made up of people, significant areas, ideologies of importance to North Korea. On each of them, they all have a North Korean coat of arms. That's pictured on the top corner here. The North Korean coat of arms is made up of a 5-pointed red star shining over Mount Paektu and a hydroelectric dam. The red star is widely used to symbolize socialism, whilst Mount Paektu is Korea's most sacred mountain, and the hydroelectric dam represents self-sustainability and prosperity. Let's first look at the 5-1. The front of the 5-1 shows members of the Workers' Party of Korea, the founding and ruling party of North Korea. At the back, we see the Hangwang Hydroelectric Dam, located near to the DMZ on the North-South Korean border. At the 10-1, we see the Korean People's Army members representing the Air Force, Navy, and Grand Forces. On the reverse, the North Korean won shows the monument to the victorious war. On the front of the 50 North Korean won note, you can see the intellectual, laborer, and the farmer. These are representative of the Workers' Party of North Korea. On the reverse, we see the monument to the party founding, or the Party Foundation Monument. The front of the 101 shows North Korea's national flower, the magnolia. On the reverse, it simply states the value of the note, 101. The front of the 200 North Korean won note is the Cholima statue. This is a mythical horse said to be able to travel 1,000 li, or about 400 kilometers, in a single day. On the reverse is also simply the value of the note, 201. On front of the 501 is the Arch of Triumph. This arch was built to commemorate the liberation of Korea from Japanese colonial rule in 1945. Again, on the reverse is simply the value of the note, 501. Now let's take a look at the 1,001. On the front is the Haeryong Revolutionary Site, the birthplace and native homestead of Kim Jong-suk. She was the first wife of Kim Il-sung and the mother of Kim Jong-il, and therefore grandmother of Kim Jong-un. On the back, we see birch trees on the shore of Lake Samji in Samjiyeon, with Mount Paektu in the background. On the front of the 2000 North Korea won note, we see the secret camp at Mount Paektu, and the log cabin, which is reportedly the native home and birthplace of Kim Jong-il. On the reverse, we see Mount Paektu, North Korea's most sacred mountain and of revolutionary significance. We first take a look at the new edition of the 5000 Korean won note. On the front is Mangyongdae Native House, the native house and birthplace of Kim Il-sung. On the back, we see the International Friendship Exhibition in Mount Myeohyang. This is where all of the gifts from foreign countries to the leadership are kept. It's a massive building inside a mountain, and houses thousands of gifts from around the world. The old editions of the 5000 Korean won note feature a face of Kim Il-sung. So let's go on to some FAQs about North Korean currency. So the first one is can I use North Korean currency? Well, you can sometimes if you're in North Korea and if you have the currency. In order to get the currency, there are a couple of locations, as I mentioned before. The Kwanbok supermarket is the most likely one that you will probably be at. It's located in Pyongyang and it's one of the local supermarkets that a lot of tourist groups visit too. There they have an exchange booth where you can exchange your money and then you can buy things in North Korean won. The other place where you can use North Korean won is Rason, which is in the far northeast of North Korea, and it's the special economic zone of North Korea. There you can actually open a bank account too, which is pretty cool. So what currency should you use in North Korea? Well, you can use either Chinese renminbi, Japanese yen sometimes, US dollar, and euro. So US dollar, euro, and Chinese money are basically your safest bet. You can use these in pretty much every location that you'll be in North Korea. One important thing to remember is that you should definitely bring all the cash that you need with you into North Korea, because there's no ATMs, there's no WeChat Pay, Alipay, Apple Pay, whatever kind of electronic pay, PayPal, there's none of that. It's just cash, hard cash. You cannot get any money into North Korea when you're already there. No ATMs or anything like that. Another question is, can I take North Korean won outside of North Korea? The answer is no. You should not take North Korean won out of North Korea. The reason for this, who knows? But it is a rule in the DPRK, and therefore you should not take Korean won outside of North Korea. Okay, so thank you very much for watching all the way until the end, guys. I hope this was interesting. If you have any more questions about the North Korean won, if you want to know anything further about what's on it, where you can use it, how I still have some of it here, please post it in the comments below. Post all of your questions, I'll ask them there, and remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and make sure to tune into the next one. Thank you very much, guys. I'll get off now and buy some nothing.
사진 한 장 두 장 번질 때면 빈터위에서 젖삽을 뜨던 저 누들이 나를 보내